Diponegoro University. Through the University Research Center, we are
Bisa kita mulai kayaknya Bu, ini Bu.
Kita admit semua dulu, lihat video dulu, terus habis itu sambil nunggu clock-nya.
Bu Martini tadi kok tidak ada suaranya? Kecil Bu suaranya Bu Martini.
Halo, apakah ini sudah?
Ya, sudah.
Saya nggak pakai headset loh ya ini ya.
Ya Bu.
Ya, makasih. Headsetku kayaknya rusak ya.
Beli baru.
Iya mau.
Iya,
Saya pikir bisa dipakai yang lama ini.
Bu Siti sudah masuk belum?
Sudah.
Bu Nursina.
Sudah Mbak Nisa itu.
Oke. Bu, minta tolong disapa dulu beliaunya nanti biar open cam, jadi kita bisa screenshot terus kita mulai.
Assalamualaikum semua.
Waalaikumsalam.
Waalaikumsalam.
Iya, good morning, Prof.
Morning.
Yeah, nice to meet you.
Finally we get to meet each other.
Iya. Ya,
Thank you
makasih.
so much, Prof.
Terima kasih
Sama-sama.
banyak.
Saya cuba yang terbaik ya.
Yeah, thank you so much for
Amin.
joining us today. Really appreciate.
We will start the event.
Okay, so you just let me know when I need to switch on my video and my audio, yeah?
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Diponegoro University. Through the University Research Center, we are committed to continue to innovate, to support, and to accelerate the sustainable development goals. Together with researchers and scientists, we bring the spirit of sustainability in every innovation and technology we create, because we want to contribute and to provide solutions for the global problems. We all know, in this uncertain era, challenges will continue to lie ahead. As we all feel right now, the world is haunted by a deadly pandemic of COVID-19. Here, we are trying to create innovations and technologies that support, protect, and motivate the community to keep them being productive during the pandemic. Through the Center of Biomechanics, Biomaterials, Biomechatronics, and Biosignal Processing, we started with product innovation, graduation robot, in order to facilitate the best graduates to be able to feel the moment of graduation without having to take risks of being exposed to COVID-19. For wider benefits, we provide public service robots to facilitate the community by carrying out administrative activities at the Semarang City Hall office. The development of CBIOM-3S to become the center of excellence in Indonesian health technology science. We are also present in providing health service robots that support health workers to serve patients without making a direct contact. For physiotherapists, we also provide finger and elbow therapy devices to carry out therapy for stroke patients remotely. Not only that, through the Center for Plasma Research or CPR, we also strive to maintain public health by improving the quality and clean level of air through product innovation of Zeta Green Air Purifier, which can kill bacteria, viruses, and germs indoors. In the economic sector, we also present innovative ozone generator products, which we call D-Ozone. D-Ozone serves towards horticultural products so that farmers can maintain the quality of their products in the longer time. Moreover, the ozone can also be used by the fishermen to preserve the fresh catches before it serves to the customer. Our innovation is not only for the industrial sector. We also innovate in order to help people with disabilities. Through bionic robots or artificial hands, we try to help them to be able to do activities easily. Through the Higher Education Research Center, through all the innovation that we have created, we will continue to innovate by bringing the spirit of innovation for sustainability, so that the world can become a better place for all, right now and in the future.
In 1985, for the first time, we accepted new students from diploma to bachelor degree under the name of the Public Health Study Program, Faculty of Medicine, Universitas Diponegoro. In 1987, the Public Health Study Program began admitting students for the regular program for the first time. In 1993, the Public Health Study Program changed to the Faculty of Public Health based on the decree of the Minister of Education and Culture of the Republic of Indonesia, number 0369/0/1993, dated 21st November 1993. Faculty of Public Health Vision. In the year of 2024, Faculty of Public Health becomes an excellent higher education institution in the field of public health in the international level. Faculty of Public Health are concerned in achieving the following objectives: to obtain graduates who have the spirit of Pancasila, competent, have social awareness, and have the Undip's graduate profile that are complete and miracle. Complete, communicator, professional, leader, entrepreneur, thinker, educator, and miracle, manager, innovator, researcher, apprentice, communitarian, leader, and educator. To obtain innovative research and beneficial products to solve public health problems and to achieve world-class university. To obtain publications in reputable national and international journals, attainments in intellectual property rights that beneficial to the development of public health to support world-class university. To contribute in the public health problems solving in regional, national, and international level. To organize transparent and accountable public health higher education in accordance with applicable regulation supported by technology advances. To organize cooperation and partnership in education, research, publication, product innovation, and community services in public health aspects with public and private institutions in national and international level. The organizational structure in Faculty of Public Health, faculty leaders, the Dean, the Vice Dean for Academic and Student Affairs, the Vice Dean for Resources. The study programs in Faculty of Public Health are Bachelor in Public Health, accredited as Excellent, Master in Public Health, accredited as Excellent, Master in Environmental Health, accredited as Excellent, Master in Health Promotion, accredited as Excellent, Doctor in Public Health, accredited as Excellent. The implementation of the education program in the Faculty of Public Health is supported by lecturers from reputable universities. Currently, the faculty has 34 lecturers with doctoral degrees of 66 lecturers with various scientific fields. They are Health Policy and Administration, Public Health Nutrition, Epidemiology and Tropical Diseases, Occupational Safety and Health, Environmental Health, Biostatistic and Population, and Health Promotion and Behavioral Sciences. In the learning process, the Faculty of Public Health is supported by education staff from various backgrounds, competencies, and professionalism. The buildings in Faculty of Public Health are Building A, the Dean Building with 2 stories. Building B, classrooms with 3 stories. Building C, lecturers' room with 2 stories and meeting rooms. Building D, secretariat room of graduate study programs. Classrooms for graduate programs. Computer laboratory. Public health laboratory. Unit room of faculty supports. And hall. Building E, Students' Activities Room. Building F, Student Activity Center, Praying Room, and Canteen. Building G, Secretariat Room of Undergraduate Study Programs, Library, Archive Rooms, and Student Activities Rooms, and also other facilities such as canteen, futsal field, basketball field, volleyball field, and other sport facilities. To support student learning process, the Faculty of Public Health has 6 laboratories: Basic Biomedicine Laboratory, Environmental Health Laboratory, Occupational Safety and Health Laboratory, Epidemiology and Entomology Laboratory, Public Health Nutrition Laboratory, and Audio-Visual Aids Laboratory. The Faculty of Public Health has accepted international students since 2016 for degree and non-degree programs in order to support Universitas Diponegoro to be the world-class university. The non-degree programs, such as summer course program, internship program, joint research, and community services, are followed by students from many countries such as Taiwan, Netherlands, Australia, Germany, China, Pakistan, Sudan, Libya, USA, Malaysia, Vietnam, Cambodia, Nigeria, and many more. Other international programs to support world-class university are visiting professors from overseas universities, International Conference on Public Health for Tropical and Coastal Development, staff exchange, lecture joint research between universities and with international NGOs. Student activities, internship, partnership with villages related to maternal health, field study practices, outbound, community services, student units activities, Research Center of Faculty of Public Health, Research Center of Environment and Toxic Material, Research Center of Neglected Tropical Diseases, Research Center of Reproductive Health and HIV/AIDS, Research Center of Public Health Nutrition, Research Center of Health Policy.
Announcement to all participants, please fill the registration form because it will be the requirement to get a certificate of this event. The participants must fill the registration and evaluation forms as those are the requirements to get a certificate of this event. The link will be sent in the room chat by the committee. Participants who actively will have the opportunity to get prizes at the end of the event. Our event will be starting soon. The participants' microphone need to remain muted during the main agenda to avoid background noises. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. On today's event, I'd like to welcome the Honorable Chairman of Public Health Undergraduate Program, Faculty of Public Health, Universitas Diponegoro, Profesor Dr. Muhammad Zain Rafiuddin, SKM MKes. Good morning, Professor Zain.
Good morning.
The Honorable Chief Department of Epidemiologi and Tropical Disease, Faculty of Public Health, Universitas Diponegoro, Dr. Insinyur Martini MKes. Good morning, Dr. Martini.
Good morning.
The Honorable Speaker from University Malaya, Profesor Dr. Siti Nursina binti Mozain. Good morning, Professor.
Good morning. Assalamualaikum semua.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
And our respectable moderator, Mu Fauzi, BPHM, SPHD. Good morning, Dr. Fauzi.
Good morning, everyone.
Welcome and thank you to all the participants joining our event today, visiting Professor the recent updates of parasitic disease and the control strategy. This event is conducted by Department of Epidemiology and Tropical Disease, Faculty of Public Health, Universitas Diponegoro. The aims of this event are to know and share the implementation of strategy to control parasitic disease and to establish international cooperation in order to improve academic reputation as part of world-class university program. Now, allow me to introduce myself as the master of ceremony for our event today. My name is Arisa Erwina, student of Department of Epidemiology and Tropical Disease, Faculty of Public Health, Universitas Diponegoro. Allow me to read our agenda today. First, singing the national anthem Indonesia Raya. Second, the greeting speech given by Dr. Insinyur Martini Emkes as the Chief Department of Epidemiology and Tropical Disease. Third, the greeting speech given by Professor Dr. Muhammad Zain Rafiuddin, SKM Emkes, as the Chairman of Public Health Undergraduate Program, Faculty of Public Health. Fourth, photo session. Fifth, lecture session delivered by Professor Dr. Siti Nursina binti Mozain. Sixth, discussion and Q&A session. And the last, closing. Before we start our agenda today, it's better for us to pray first. Let us pray based on individual belief. Pray begins. Praying done. Moving to our first agenda, singing the national anthem. To the operator in charge, please proceed.
Indonesia tanah airku, tanah tumpah darahku. Di sanalah aku berdiri, jadi pandu ibumu. Indonesia kebangsaanku, bangsa dan tanah airku. Marilah kita bersatu, Indonesia bersatu. Hiduplah tanahku, hiduplah negeriku, bangsaku, rakyatku semuanya. Bangunlah jiwanya, bangunlah badannya, untuk Indonesia Raya. Indonesia Raya, merdeka, merdeka, tanahku, negeriku yang ku cinta. Indonesia Raya, merdeka, merdeka, hiduplah Indonesia Raya. Indonesia Raya, merdeka, merdeka, tanahku, negeriku yang ku cinta. Indonesia Raya, merdeka, merdeka, hiduplah Indonesia Raya.
Now, I'd like to invite Dr. Insinyur Martini Emkes as the Chief Department of Epidemiology and Tropical Disease to give a greeting speech. To Dr. Martini, time and place is yours.
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you, Arista and Pina, MC today. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. The Honorable Head of Study Program of Health Community Science, Prof. Zain. Good morning, Prof. Zain.
Good morning.
The Honorable, our guest lecturer, Professor Dr. Nursina binti Muhammad Zain. Good morning, Prof. Nice to meet you
Nice to meet you.
at this event. The Honorable Moderator today, Muhammad Fauzi, PhD,
Morning, Bu
and
Martini.
also the all lecturers of Public Health Faculty. The dearest my friends, my colleagues, and the respectable student of the Public Health Bachelor Program, Magister Program, and then also the respectable of the committee support this event. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam.
Alhamdulillahirabbil alamin. We meet today in the great event of the education seminar of public health. Good morning, all the participants. First of all, let us give utmost gratitude toward God, Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, many for His love and blessing, so that we can meet by Zoom in this on the scientific meeting. Wonderful opportunity. My name Dr. Martini, and I'm head Department of Epidemiology and Tropical Disease, Faculty of Public Health. Yeah. I want to report about this event. This topic of this meeting, we discuss much about the recent update of parasitic disease and its control strategy. We know that our country, Indonesia, is still being a health problem in our community, especially parasitic disease. What kind of parasitic disease? And then also the issues of the disease, impact of the public health, and so on. We all of the participants will discuss about this topic today. And hopefully, Prof. Sina, the expert related with this topic, will talk much. And I also hope my student adhere to get many questions to her and don't leave this opportunity to discuss and know about this topic. The participant of we invite the participant today, all of the students at here, and also the lecturers. I hope they are all join with this meeting. And this last, it is great pleasure to me to welcome you all this to scientific meeting, the education seminar, and then to guest lecture, and also the participant. I'm very thankful to Prof. Nursina for your time and giving us the knowledge and scientific information, and also to thank to the community who have organized this the great event. Once again, welcome and thank you very much for attending the event. I wish especially to Prof. Sina, maybe after the seminar we can develop collaboration, not only today, but maybe in the other scientific event. Yeah, we have an international seminar. Maybe you have time to join to be a speaker to our international seminar. And the last, I wish all participants good luck. Yeah. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you. Back to the MC.
Thank you, Dr. Martini, for the greeting speech. Now, our next agenda is greeting speech as well as opening of our event today, which will be delivered by Professor Dr. Muhammad Zain Rafiuddin, SKM MKes, as the Chairman of Public Health Undergraduate Program. Professor Zain, time and place is yours.
Thank you, Mbak Arista Ervina. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, selamat pagi. Saya mohon maaf ya untuk sambutan dan pembukaan ini saya menggunakan bahasa Indonesia ya. Jadi Pertama-tama yang saya hormati Ibu Profesor Dr. Siti Nursina binti Mohzain. Kemudian yang saya hormati Ibu Ketua Bagian Epidemiologi dan Penyakit Menular, Ibu Dr. Insinyur Martini Mkes, Bapak-bapak dan ibu-ibu dosen Bagian Epidemiologi dan Penyakit Tropik FKM Undip, dan juga para mahasiswa yang saya cintai. Pertama-tama saya mohon maaf sebesar-besarnya karena Bapak Dekan, Audin, dan Vice Dean berhalangan hadir untuk membuka acara visiting professor ini karena ada acara di universitas. Bapak-bapak dan ibu-ibu semua, bahwa kita negara Indonesia ini adalah negara yang tropis dan kita tahu banyak sekali penyakit-penyakit parasit, ya, dari mulai kecacingan, helmin, kemudian bakteri, virus, dan lain-lain. Dan ini tentu membutuhkan bagaimana strategi yang kita terapkan untuk mengatasi permasalahan-permasalahan parasitic disease ini, bagaimana cara mengontrolnya, dan bagaimana program-program yang akan kita lakukan untuk kalau bisa mengeradikasi penyakit-penyakit parasitik ini. Dan alhamdulillah pada kesempatan hari ini kita bisa mengundang Ibu Profesor Dr. Siti Nursina binti Mohzain ini, ya, luar biasa. Beliau dari Institute of Biological Science, Faculty of Science, University Malaya. CV-nya luar biasa, sudah banyak publikasi di berbagai jurnal internasional, bahkan juga sebagai editorial board di jurnal Q1 Parasitologi, ya. Nah, nanti silahkan Bapak-bapak dan Ibu-ibu bisa menimba pengalaman, pengetahuan, ya, dari Ibu Profesor Dr. Siti Nursina ini untuk meningkatkan kerjasama, ya, antara Fakultas Kesehatan Masyarakat Universitas Diponegoro mungkin dengan Universitas Malaya, ya, terutama dalam penelitian-penelitian di bidang parasitologi. Mungkin dari saya itu saja, dan secara resmi acara visiting professor ini dengan mengucapkan Bismillahirrahmanirrahim saya buka. Ya, saya kembalikan ke MC.
Thank you, Professor Zen, for the greeting speech. Now, to all the participants, please open your camera and give your best smile because we are going to have a photo session. I'll count to 3 and the operator will take photo of each slide of the meeting. Maybe the participants want to prepare first. Are you ready? 1, 2, 3. Next slide, please. 1, 2, 3. Okay, that's the end of our photo session. Now to all participants, I'd like to remind you to fill the registration form. The link will be sent in the room chat by the committee. Once again, to all participants, please fill the registration form because it will be the requirement to get certificate of this event. Okay, now before we move to our main agenda, I'd like to inform you the rules of Q&A session. First, participants only allowed to ask questions during Q&A session. Second, participants are allowed to use microphones in Q&A session after the permission of the moderator. Third, participants can ask questions through meeting chat, both in Zoom and YouTube with format name, _institution, and then followed by the questions. Fourth, questions cannot contain any form of discrimination of ethnic, race, and gender, and religion. Okay, on today's lecture session, Our speaker will present about parasitic disease in this era and strategy to control. This session will be guided by our amazing moderator, Dr. Fauzi. Is currently working as lecturer in Department of Epidemiology and Tropical Disease. Dr. Fauzi has a lot of experience, especially about parasite. He has 7 years of experience working in laboratory to develop malaria vaccine. He's alumnus of Faculty of Public Health, Universitas Diponegoro back in 2014. He's graduated from Kangwon National University for master and PhD degree, and recently being postdoc research fellow in University of St. Andrews, UK. He's been through so many trainings, which for the recent training is Oxford Nanopore Sequencing from 2021 to 2022. Dr. Fauzi was awarded for so many appreciations and so far has released 22 publications. His recent achievement and award are being Outstanding Academic Awardee at Kangwon National University in 2019, and awarded as the best oral presentation about vaccine against different species of Plasmodium in 2019 at Medical School Symposium of Kangwon National University. Okay, that's the brief introduction of our moderator. Please join us, Dr. Fauzi. Time and place is yours.
Okay, thank you so much, Arsita, for really nice introductions of myself. And welcome to our seminar for this session this morning, everyone. Firstly, I would like to really appreciate for our speaker, for our honorable speaker, Professor Nurshina, for joining us this morning. Also, I would like to thank to Bu Martini and also Prof. Zenz for joining us these sessions. And to everyone, to participants, thank you so much for joining us this seminar. Before we begin this seminar, I would like to remind to everyone that you have to mute yourself during our speaker speaks, and then we will give you plenty of time for the questions and answer sessions. And also, can everyone show the rules of the questions and answer sessions, please? Maybe not. Okay, then, Prof. Sheena, are you ready for your talk?
Yes, thank you. Thank you, moderator.
Yeah.
Just let
No
me
worries.
share my screen here.
Yes. So, Prof. Sheena, you have plenty of time for your talk, and then just presents everything what you want, and then we have plenty of time for the questions and answer sessions from the participants, from our students.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Can you see my slides?
Yes, we do.
Okay, excellent. Assalamualaikum and a very good morning. Apa kabar semua? My name is Nurshina. I am the lecturer at the Institute of Biological Sciences, University Malaya. So firstly, before I share a little bit about what I do and what I study, I'd like to thank the organizers, particularly Ibu Dr. Martini, who has actually approached me to share the little work that I've done. And also, I'd like to thank the organizers, particularly Professor Zain, for his wonderful introduction of me. I would try my best to share with you what I have done all this while in my 20 years of research in the field of parasitology. So let me share with you a little bit of the updates of parasitic disease and control strategies that I like to propose and recommend. Now, so let's look at this map.
Sorry, Prof. Sheena, for the interruption. Yeah. Can you make it as a slideshow mode for your presentations?
This is a slideshow, actually.
Oh, is it?
Yes. What do you actually see?
So we see double PowerPoints, double slides.
Okay,
So just yeah, that one, please.
this is what I get.
Oh yeah, that's the same. So
Yeah.
I say okay then, just carry on. I'm
Okay.
sorry.
So now let's look at this world map, and it actually shows the availability of soil transmitted helminth globally. In 2017, the Global Disability Adjusted Life, or DALYs, in relation to STH, or soil transmitted helminth, was estimated at 1.92 million. Now, if you look at the distribution, STH is primarily distributed in the tropics and the subtropic region. And these are primarily infecting the underprivileged and economically marginal population. And if you look at this map, it is also in the warm climate. And this warm climate is the adequate moist conditions that is ideal for the development of the helminth's eggs and larvae. Now, how can we acquire this infection? Now, human infection is commonly acquired through ingestion of food or water resources that is contaminated. And prior to it infecting human, it must develop in the soil as part of their life cycle. So therefore, soil transmitted helminthiasis, or STH, are often related to poor environmental sanitation and personal hygiene. Now, according to the WHO, soil transmitted helminth is one of the 17 neglected tropical diseases, with 1.5 billion people, or 24% of the world's population, especially among the disadvantaged, are affected worldwide. Now, when we talk about this infection, in general, individuals have low infection and many remain asymptomatic. But in higher or heavier infections, symptoms can include anemia, vitamin A deficiency, stunted growth, malnutrition, intestinal obstruction, and impaired development. Now, let's look at the common species that infect human. There are 4. Ascaris lumbricoides, or what is also known as the roundworm, Trichuris trichura, the whipworm, Nicator americanus, and Ancylostoma duodenale, which is known as the hookworm. So when we try to distinguish these parasites, we can normally differentiate them in the stool sample. When you look at Trichuris trichura, the eggs show with 2 polars, whereas the Anthrobius vermicularis is slightly more elongated. Okay, so as I said, the transmission is normally spread through person to person, through food contamination with feces, or by direct fecal oral contamination. So I'm sharing with you a simple life cycle of Ascaris lumbricoides, where if you look at the eggs, they've already developed in the soil. So it needs to develop in the soil, and through bad hygiene, it is ingested into the human, and the larvae will then develop from the eggs and proceed to mature in the intestine, and the cycle continues. So when we look at the symptoms, they greatly vary, right? And they, as I say, they can be from asymptomatic with no symptoms to diarrhea, gas or flatulence, greasy stool, stomach cramps, upset stomach, nausea, dehydration, and weight loss. Okay, so when we talk about parasitic infections, we can also include Giardia, as well as Cryptosporidium. Giardia and Cryptosporidium is acquired through contaminated drinking water. Okay, so just simply going through the life cycle of Cryptosporidium, as I said, it is mainly through contaminated water by drinking water that has been contaminated with oocysts, and the symptoms generally appear 2 to 10 days or at the average of 7 days after infection. And symptoms, as I say, primarily come in the form of water, diarrhea, stomach cramps, dehydration, vomiting, fever, and weight loss. Now, I've just spoken in general, right? Now, let's look at what's happening in the Southeast Asia region. Similarly, a high number of cases is being reported with Ascaris, trichuris, and hookworms. And again, majority persists exclusively in marginalized populations, those living in rural, poor settings, and these infections generally have less attention than other diseases. So if you look at perhaps in the last 2 years, COVID has overtaken the focus, as well as malaria or dengue prior to COVID. So many of these infections do not receive funding. They do not receive highlights in the in research. Now, however, WHO has actually published a new target for STH control in 2020 to at least achieve a prevalence of moderate to heavy infections less by 2% by 2030. Now, when we want to talk about STH in particular, we cannot run away from looking at vulnerable populations because, as I say, they are commonly found in marginalized population. So I cannot run away from vulnerable populations. And just let me share with you a little bit about what are the criteria of vulnerable population. They are individuals that are at poor physical or social health status, okay? They are vulnerable because in their disparities in physical as well as economic and social health when compared to the dominant population. And because they are vulnerable, they are more likelihood to contracting disease or illness. Now, coming forward with that, because they are vulnerable, they are unable to cope or resist or recover from impact of hazards. And this vulnerability extends not only for helminth, but it also can be bigger than that. It can be, for example, what we've come out from the pandemic, COVID, for example, dengue. So they are less able to cope when they are faced with this type of diseases. The degree which population are vulnerable to disasters is not primarily dependent on the proximity of the source of the disaster, right? So now let's look at who comes under vulnerable population. Now, as I said, vulnerable populations, they are generally faced with hazards. And when faced with hazards, they are able to cope, right? So who are they? They are those who cannot access healthcare, those with poor economic stability, where they live, right? So the environment where they live, they have low education, as well as social community context. Now, who are these groups of people? These could be migrant workers, these could be refugees, these could be rural communities. It can also be the urban poor, the old and aging, pregnant women. So it depends on the communities that you are looking at. So when you are looking at combating SDH in a community, you cannot go under a big umbrella. You have to make sure you look at the community itself and look at their social determinants of health, right? So in my study, I've actually looked at 3 groups of people: the migrant workers, the refugees, and the urban poor. Okay, so my study will share with you the work that I've done on these 3 groups of people, and my findings will come and draw from these communities. Okay, so let's look at migrant workers first. So as you know, Malaysia receives more than 2 million workers coming from 9 countries around the region. And what normally happens is workers that come in are screened for chronic diseases. They are screened for example, dengue, they're screened for malaria, they're screened for chronic diseases. But unfortunately, parasitic diseases is not part of the mandatory health screening protocol. So this is what led me to find out what are the status of parasitic diseases among the community. So the first study that we published, we looked at the social, demographic, and environmental characteristics in the transmission of intestinal parasitic infections. Now, what did we find was quite surprising. 62% were positive for at least one parasite species. And what were the risk factors that we found? We found that nationality, as well as the length of working years in the country, employment sector, educational level played a role, right? Now, what does this mean? This means that primarily most workers had poor personal hygiene practices, and they could have had lack of health awareness. This then moved us to look at, are there new infections that are being introduced into Malaysia, for example? Are these common? Now, we then studied and looked at hookworms infection among migrant workers, especially in molecular as well as microscopy. Now, what we found with PCR, we obtained from 82.4% of the 51 samples that we acquired, which were positive, were identified as Nicator americanus, Ancylostoma species, as well as mixed infections of Americanus and Ancylostoma. Now, all eight Ancylostoma species were confirmed to be Ancylostoma duodenale. And prior to this, Ancylostoma duodenale has never been reported in Malaysia. And this was the first study and the first report of this species in Malaysia. Now, then since we've got the samples, we wanted to find out whether the environment played a role, because most of the workers we found were living in conditions that are in very bad conditions. So we looked at the social determinants of Toxoplasma gondii. As you know, Toxoplasma gondii is transmitted by the cat feces, right? And we were not surprised again to find Toxoplasma gondii in terms of their seroprevalence in the community was at concerning levels, right? Next, we looked at the distribution of Giardia and Cryptosporidium. So Giardia and Cryptosporidium, as I said, are transmitted through contaminated water, right? So we looked at the distribution among the population, and we found 10.8% positive for Giardia and 3.1% with Cryptosporidium. Okay, so now Giardia duodenalis was confirmed in 30 samples with assemblages A and B, and 17 positive samples respectively. Okay, 9 samples were identified as Cryptosporidium parvum. And what were the risk factors? The country of origin, the duration of residency in Malaysia, and the working sectors. Okay, so yes, infections were low, but what was highlighted in the study was Cryptosporidium was significant, associated among those in the food service sector. Okay, now we looked at lymphatic filariasis, right? As well as because lymphatic filariasis is something Malaysia is trying to eliminate by the year of 2020, all right? And because LF is a potential threat, we wanted to find out whether they were coming in with LF. So we utilize specific IgG4 antibodies against the Brugia rapid and recombinant antigens. Yes, seroprevalence was low. However, we found Brankovian filariasis was notable among workers coming from India, Nepal, and Myanmar. Okay, so as I said, Malaysia is not endemic for Wuchereria brankovitii. However, we have vectors the mosquito vectors that could transmit the infection, and infection therefore needs to be monitored. Okay, so we've looked at several parasitic infections. Now we try and look at the food industry, particularly in evaluating the basic knowledge on food safety and food handling in Malaysia. Now, the overall, we found that food handlers had poor level of knowledge in food safety and average level on food handling practices. So the significant effects of food knowledge and social demographic were the nationality and education, and the food handling practices and factors were primarily among those of specific nationality, as well as their attendance at food training programs. So the findings for these studies identified three points or three key factors that link poor knowledge acquisition, which is poor participation in food training program. There was an educational level barrier and language barrier. Okay. We looked at another infection, which is the salmonella, but what we found was non-typhoidal salmonella, and they were asymptomatic among the food handlers. Okay, so again, low infections, where only 9 stool samples were confirmed to be salmonella positive, and they were identified serotypes of Trypthimurium, Corvallis, Hardar, and Agona. There were 2 unknown serovars. Okay, and we also tested them, their susceptibility to antibiotics. Okay, and 7 were multi-drug resistant to ampicillin, chloramphenicol, and so on and so forth. Okay, so the carriers for non-typhoidal salmonella exist among food handlers, and this poses a health risk to consumers, particularly through food contamination. Okay, and another study on microorganism as an indicator, and here we've identified several microbial that were found on the hands of the food handlers. Okay, so and they all exceeded acceptable standards. Now, we've looked at all the different infections, and what we need to know is what is the government going to do it. So there were several articles that were published in newspapers to highlight a deworming program, particularly among migrant workers, right? So now, this is a study that we've done over the last 5 years. Next, we wanted to find out who else is, who else is not that needs attention. Okay, so we looked at another group of vulnerable communities, which is the urban poor. Now, what we found particularly interesting was many children living in low-cost flats in Kuala Lumpur face poverty and malnutrition. Okay, and many of those living in the public housing are among the urban poor. Many are they have low literacy in health, as well as high dropout rate. Therefore, there is an indication here that parasitic infections can be present in the community. So if you look at what is the housing conditions in this public housing, there are many indications that the health of these people are perhaps are at risk of parasitic diseases. And there is strong evidence that show the housing or type of housing to individual health. Now, before I start on what is the issues that are faced among the urban poor, let's look at what is urban poor. How do we characterize as urban poor in Malaysia? So urban poor can be defined as a population in cities with a household less than approximately 200 USD. And this was actually a figure that was given by the Economic Planning Unit, Department of Statistics, and it's measured quantitatively by the Poverty Line Index. And urban poor are individuals that are able to fulfill the minimum basic necessities of life. And this could be food, this could be education, housing condition, household appliances, and amenities. Okay, so we just look at Kuala Lumpur, for example. 76% of the population has undergone urbanization. And in terms of access to sanitation facilities, have reached up to 96%. Okay, and 98% have access to clean water. So by definition, if you look at the criteria given here, parasitic infections should not be an issue because there are access to sanitation. There's access to clean drinking water. Okay, so however, as you can see, poverty in Malaysia has declined dramatically over the last 3 decades from 16.5% to 3.8%. And despite the decline, overpopulation in urban cities is still a concern. And because they are living in poverty, they are exposed to a variety of diseases. And there are several studies that have linked low-cost public housing to substandard types of building. And now let me tell you why substandard type of building is important and how they are able to transmit parasitic infections. Okay, so there are many studies that have been linked to type of building with chronic illness such as hypertension, obesity, depression, asthma, and diabetes. Okay, so this is clear cut, but let us look at why living condition is very important. So I'm giving you an example of a typical public housing in Malaysia. So if you look, there's a nice nice playground for children to play in the site. But if you look closely, you see a garbage collection center near the playground. Now, why is it important? The placement of your garbage collection center should be not close to the playground. Now, as you know, children, when they play in playgrounds, they like to play with soil, right? And when you have a garbage center nearby, you are going to attract pests such as rodents and cockroaches, and you have stray animals as well. Okay, so let's look at another condition of this public housing. You see broken fences. Now, why broken fences is an issue? It's because it allows stray animals to enter the public housing. Now, you've got stray animals who are known to defecate everywhere and scavenge for food in rubbish collecting areas, right? We see also overflowing waste that are not stored properly, and these are going to attract rodents and pests to the area and contaminate the environment with eggs, parasitic eggs that can infect the human. Okay, and these pests can also invade homes of these communities. So now, why are we concerned about this, right? So I'm going to share you a video. During rainy season, and you can see children playing near the playground. And you know that these are areas where stray animals, rodents, dogs, and cats have already contaminated the soil. So you have children, they are exposed to infections. And if you look at the environment here, it is not particularly hygienic, where people throw rubbish into areas that cannot be cleaned, for example. And as I said, these will attract pests to scavenge. Okay, we also see poor building quality, and this is a window of a homeowner, which you can see water coming in during rain, right? So the owner has actually put a plastic to stop the water from coming in, but it doesn't actually stops the water from coming in. Okay, so although many of these works are still ongoing, we've actually looked at several parasitic infection. One is Toxoplasma gondii, right? So we saw animals scavenging, we saw pests. So we wanted to know whether Toxoplasma gondii was an issue among these residents. So we saw at least close to 70% of the urban poor with anti-Toxoplasma IgG. Okay, so indicating that they've been exposed to toxoplasmosis. So there's high seroprevalence of toxoplasmosis in the community, and this calls for increased awareness for disease transmission and improvements in hygiene and sanitation. Okay, so a simple study looking at your head lice. Okay, so the community, out of 335 children examined, 14% was still positive for head lice. So this says something about the community, their health status. So we've actually done some preliminary work looking at STH. 20% of the participants of 173 were positive for Ascaris lumbricoides, and we found also Hymenolipis nana, which is a cestode. Now, because of the numbers are still low, we are able to summarize the risk factors with the parasitic infections. Okay, so here again, we looked at Giardia and Cryptosporidium. Because of the good access of clean water, we still find Giardia and Cryptosporidium, even though in very low levels, present, which calls us to question why, right? So we know that protozoans are commonly transmitted via food and water, are uncommon, but it is potentially contaminated through unwashed hands after defecation. So the infections in a population, you must look at the risk factors. Okay, so we cannot just go in and treat if we do not know what they are infected with. So the parasite control strategies must be targeted, as well as if you can already see health awareness, health education is very important. Okay, I'm going to also share with you a little study that I've done on the refugee community in Malaysia. Now, the refugee community in Malaysia is quite different because they do not live in camps. They are not isolated in a rural area, but they live in urban cities, and they live back to back as neighbors to the local community. Now, just one study that we've done, we've looked at the prevalence of leptospirosis among the refugee communities, and we found that they were seropositive, indicating there are potential risks of the presence of rats. There are risks on pet ownership, how they walking in barefoot, as well as their sex as well as ethnicity, all play a significant risk factor. Now, again, here it looks at the extrinsic risk factors that are playing a role in the infection. Okay, so this is just one area. Now, we already know, STH is very easy to treat. It's very cheap. Preventive chemotherapy is the hallmark of STH control, and it's been endorsed by WHO. And it is implemented on periodic administration of large-scale anti-helminthic to high-risk groups in endemic areas. Okay, so that is clear-cut. The therapeutic agents have been successful, particularly for helminth infections. You have mebendazole, albendazole, pyrantel palmate, so on and so forth. As well as for protozoan, you have metronidazole, tinidazole, so on and so forth, right? And albendazole has been the drug since the 1980s, and a single dose is highly efficacy against Ascaris lumbricoides. It's known, it's proven, and it's satisfactory performance against hookworms. Unfortunately, unlike Ascaris lumbricoides and the hookworms, Trichuris trichura is not effective. A single dose is, you find the efficacy less than 50%. So the regime that or dosage that is needed needs to be identified. What is the infection in the community? Is it Ascaris? Is it Trichuris? Is it hookworms? Because albendazole has been investigated. The multiple dose regime for albendazole has been investigated and has reported considerably higher cure than a single dose. So you need at least a minimum of 3 doses. So the number of dosage is important, right? So treatment is clear-cut. It's out there, it's cheap, but you must understand what is effective. Is it 1 dose? Is it 3 doses? If in the population Trichuris is prevalent, giving them albendazole is not going to cut it. 1 dose is not going to cut it. So identifying what is in the population is crucial. Okay, so there are also another important point that I like to highlight here. There are many studies that already identified the benefits. You see, there's benefits to STH, as particularly in inflammatory disorders such as autoimmunity, allergy, IBD, the inflammatory bowel disease, and how these worms actually treat these infections is through triggering the immunoregulatory effect. Okay, and it could be because of this, the possible protective effect of helminth has led to the interest in developing the therapeutic approach of helminth therapy. So there is a new and upcoming study which says worms are actually good and they're able to treat some inflammatory diseases, but it still needs a lot of understanding of how this is triggered. So there's this bad and good. Now, what as a researcher should you do? Like for me, I've actually looked at specific populations and looking at what are the right strategies for each group. So when you want to look at recommendation, is mass antihelmintic treatment important? How should it be targeted? For example, the urban poor, what should be the strategy? For the refugees, what should be the recommendation? And for the migrant workers, what should be the strategy? You cannot have one system that fits everything. You have to identify what are the intrinsic and extrinsic risk factors. We've already identified. Sometimes it is the environment they live. So by targeting the environment they live, by cleaning up, improving on their health and sanitation could be one way, right? So at the same time, the population needs to have knowledge about how helminths and protozoan infections can circulate in the population. So we need to increase knowledge about transmission of parasitic infections among the community. And this calls for public health engagement programs in the communities for the improvements in the hygiene and sanitation, right? So one bill does not fit all. You have to ensure that your recommendations are targeted. So, and I think this is my last slide. This work cannot be completed without the support of the Ministry of Health Malaysia, the staff, nurses of HUKM and UMMC, all our volunteers, and the financial support from the Ministry of Higher Education and from University Malaya. So thank you, everybody.
Okay, thank you so much, Professor Sheena, for a really nice talk. And thank you so much for taking us to Malaysia through your work. It was really nice, really, to see all that works going really well and having really nice results. And thank you so much for the knowledge. So we move to the next sessions for the question and answer sessions. So just a little bit rules for these questions and answer sessions. All participants can ask the questions directly by raising your hand or dropping your questions in the chat box. I will try to deliver the questions to our speaker. And in the last sessions, before our closing, we will select 5 best questions to receive interesting gift from our organizer. So are there any questions from the students or from the participants for Professor Sheena? Oh yeah, Prof. Zen. There is one question from Prof. Zen. You can ask the questions directly to her, Professor.
Okay, thank you. I want to ask about, is there a regulation in Malaysia that regulates the condition for migrant worker before entry Malaysia country? Maybe first examination or laboratorium before they enter to Malaysia. Mungkin bisa ya, betul nggak bahasa Inggris saya seperti itu?
Iya, Prof. Betul, Prof.
Okay.
Betul, Prof.
So in Malaysia, the migrant workers are screened at least 3 times.
Okay.
The first before they enter the country, in their home country. Second, once they arrive, 1 month after they arrive the country, and then and then subsequently they'll be screened every year but they do not screen for parasitic
It's
infections.
true.
That is the issue here. They do not screen. They screen for malaria, they screen for dengue, they screen for STI, they screen
Mhm.
for chronic illness, hypertension, diabetes, but not for parasitic infection.
It's true.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thank
thank
you.
you so much, Professor. Does it answer your questions, Prof? I hope it's clear for Professor Zen. Thank you so much, Professor Sheena, for the answer and response. And we have another question from Agus Saifuddin. So here is the questions: how to protect microfilariasis in the area, and what is this? So how to protect microfilariasis in maybe, I guess, in a particular area, and how to handle that diseases. And could you please explain, Professor Sina?
Okay, so microfilaria or microfilariasis, primarily the best way is to control the vector.
True.
So the mosquito is the main vector for disease transmission. So it is mosquito. So looking at how do we, and control can also be several ways. Controlling the vector, ensuring the vector doesn't, the population doesn't expand. So you need to ensure that you clean the area from areas where they can breed. So cleaning up breeding areas, as well as screening for microfilaria in the community. The numbers in Malaysia are very, very low right now. Okay, so we've done very well for that. But if we do not control the mosquito population, the vectors that can transmit microfilaria, the issue can come back again. So keeping the mosquito population controlled, the vectors that can propagate the disease will be the next step.
Okay. Thank you so much, Professor Sina, for your response. I have one question, Professor. Is that okay to ask the questions from the moderator?
Sure.
Okay.
Please.
Yeah. So I'm really interested for your work about the intestinal parasites. And have you tried to confirm the transmissions that happens from the migrant workers to the local community or to the local populations?
Okay, so you want to see whether there is transmission?
Yeah, true.
Okay,
to the
so
locals.
So if we looking from my studies, the results, how transmission can take place is through food handling. That's why I focus quite a bit on food handlers, looking at what is present. Do they understand about disease transmission when you handle food? So knowledge about food handling is quite important. And what we found that their knowledge on how food handling can relate or can transmit disease is very low. So here, there's something that's not happening. They go, yes, I said they have a training, particularly to educate them about how to control disease when food handling, but something is not happening. The knowledge they are acquired, they are given is not acquired. They do not understand. So there's something is not happening. Could it be a language barrier? They are not understanding.
Yeah.
Because as you can see, there are many different workers that come here. We've got countries where English is not spoken well, Malay is not understood. So how do you communicate these people? And we are not actually finding out whether they understand what is taught to them. So maybe perhaps how the information is shared or communicated to them is also important. So that's my take. So there is a lot that the government needs to do. You know, they
Exactly.
they have placed things, but they're not looking at whether it's effective or not right now.
True. That's true. That's true. Lots of homeworks from the government has to do with the workers.
Yes.
Yeah, true. So there is one question from Weena. What is your suggestions or strategy to approach people to willingly get screened for parasitic diseases?
Well, Weena, you are right. I mean, it's very difficult to ask people to share your fecal sample. You need a lot of persuasion. And I think what is important here is they do not understand why you're doing it. It's the understanding why do you need my fecal sample? If they only understood that, they will willingly give you. They are willing to. They want to know what's happening in their body. So it's creating that awareness and sharing with them, you know, the importance of doing this, and giving them building trust. Trust is another issue. You cannot just go in and just say, I want your fecal sample. You have to build trust with the community. You cannot just go in one time. You have to build trust with the community. So that is needs a longer term. Once you build trust, then they are willing to be open to other things.
Yeah, true. It's like a community engagement before we do the research there.
Correct.
Agree. And also we have another question from Professor Zen. Is it enough to take one dose of albendazole every 6 months to treat STH? If it doesn't cope with whipworms, then in a year, how many times should you take albendazole?
Okay, so as I say, you need to know what's happening in the community, right? So for example, the rural community, especially the Orang Asli in Malaysia, you find high prevalence of Trichuris trichura. And you know, one dose of albendazole is not going to cut it. So there are studies that are ongoing, looking at three doses of albendazole, trying to treat this. And so far, I think it is successful. But if you're not going to teach the community about how these infections are transmitted, they're going to acquire it again. So it's not going to stop. Giving therapeutics is not the solution. You have to educate them. Why are they getting these infections again? So there are many studies that looked at, after treating them, they come back, they still have it. Now, something is not happening there. So again, for me, it's about health awareness, health promotion, going that route instead of just giving the simple way, which is the therapeutics.
Yeah, thank you so much. So yes, I agree with you, Professor, that the treatment is not the first line of the strategy to control the parasitic diseases, but the educations, the information that we provide to the community is another level that we can prevent or any transmission of the parasitic diseases in the community, especially in the migrant workers.
Yes.
Yeah, and we have another questions from Bu Martini. So how you communicate to your health authority in order to inform them that there is a health problem in the community?
So this is the tough one. This is a very tough one. You cannot, it's very difficult to tell your ministries, okay, you're not doing things right. So that's why the media plays a big role. The media highlighting your issues plays a different role. It gets attention through the masses, and that will push your health authorities to do something. So I think that's the only way. Nobody likes to say that they are not doing things right. And put it out in the media, put it out to the masses. That's a strategy. And I think, you have to use all different models here.
True. That's really nice suggestions to use the media as our how to say, like, attentions, to get the attention of the disease problem, and then the government will take forward for the solutions. Agree. So are there any questions from the students? You can ask the question in Bahasa, so that's okay, because
Pak
Professor
Fauzi,
Shina
boleh
also
tanya
can.
tentang malaria nggak?
Oh, yes. Is it
Malaria,
okay,
saya
Professor
cuba
Shina,
ya,
to
saya
ask about
cuba.
malaria?
Boleh cuba.
Oke,
Boleh.
Professor, is it safe for pregnant women in malaria endemic areas to take iron tablet, Professor?
Iron tablet.
Yes.
That's a tough one. Well, I'm not an expert in malaria per se, and I wouldn't dare to answer that question.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's a very interesting point that you've raised there. Is it safe to take iron? Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That's the difficult question to answer. We'll try to find the answer for you, Professor.
Yes. Let's help each other here.
Sure. Thank you so much, Professor Sina. Are there any questions from the students? I hope that there are. You can ask the question in Bahasa. Even the simple thing, that's okay, because we learn from this. So are there any more questions? Oh, there is again, I think, from Professor Zen. I'm interested in molecular identification of the STH because so far we have been doing the examination of WOMX. Is the molecular examination inexpensive? Is it possible to do this examination at the primary healthcare?
Okay, so I'm personally, molecular is only necessary in research, if you ask me, a molecular level at that point. But at the community level, it's about identifying whether they have it or not and what is it, and then treating that. A molecular level will only be interesting when you want to look at the sequence and the gene flow and the family tree, which I think it's not necessary at the community level. At the moment, if you want, it is only yes or no, present or not, what is it, and then just targeting it.
Yeah. So agree with the Professor Sheena. For the molecular thing in the community is not, in my personal opinion, it's not that really necessary, but we need to identify the presence, meaning that the positive and negative of the parasites in the community, then we can target it specifically of the intervention for the community rather than we do expensive things, but we couldn't get the specific intervention for the community.
As you know, treatment is very cheap.
Yes, treatment is very cheap.
So you don't want to spend extra money. You can pull that resources to something else.
Exactly, that's true. And then we have another questions, Prof. Sina, from our students. He asked about the surveillance system on parasitic diseases in Malaysia. How is it going? Is it good, or is it need a tweaky things to be done in Malaysia or not?
Okay, so as I say, parasitic infections get the least funding, get the least attention, right? So monitoring is generally at the academia.
True.
Generally at the academia. If it's not going to, if you don't see cases like malaria in the East Malaysia or dengue. Dengue is a big issue in our country, right? So the focus, the funding, everything goes there. So parasitic infections always the least priority. So it is up to the academics, the researchers to bring it up and give it the level of priority it needs. Yes, I mean, when we have a breakout, then like COVID, all the resources go there. When you have a breakout about rabies, all the resources go there. So parasitic infections, you don't die from it. Sometimes there's no symptoms. So that's why people don't see it as important, but it is important. Your life, your well-being is affected if you have the infection.
True.
That's my take on it.
Yeah, thank you so much, Professor Sina, for the response. We have another questions, Professor, from our staff. So how is the filariasis surveillance program in Malaysia? Is it vector surveillance also carried out in Malaysia?
Okay, the surveillance is done, but it's very sporadic. It's targeted in certain hotspot areas only. So it's not in the whole general country. So in terms of having the actual facts and figures, it's not there. It's not there.
Okay.
It's, as I say, it's only primarily if the area is a hotspot, it's a case, then they'll start looking at the community, but not high level.
Okay, thank you so much, Professor, for the response. We have another questions from our students. Is it okay to carry on the questions and answer session?
Sure.
Yeah. So there is one question from Atika Salsabila. So she asked about the most effective way to detect the parasites or bacteria that have a potential to be an outbreak in the community. And if there is, how then we control that parasites or bacteria to before it spreads to the community? Yeah, that thing.
All right, so let me start with the bacterial transmission. As I say, it's very specific. So for example, leptospirosis. Leptospirosis is the third most important infection after dengue and malaria. So leptospirosis is very important, and it has implication that the rodent is the vector. So importance about controlling of the vector, monitoring of the population is also important. So that's why when we look at urban poor, for example, you got clean water, you've got basic sanitary facilities, but you do not take care of the environment. So One Health approach is very important. You have to maintain, monitor the environment. You have to maintain and monitor the animal health. You have to maintain and monitor the human health. They all are interconnected. So you cannot focus on one group. And that's why the One Health approach is the best.
Yeah.
And this goes for all the different diseases as well.
Yes, One Health approach for tackling the diseases, especially for the communicable diseases in tropical areas. That's really important things. Are there any more questions from the student or from the participants? I think no more questions. If there is no more question, then I think that's enough for our discussion, question and answer sessions, and for your talk. Thank you so much, Professor Sheena, for your time, for your really nice work and taking us to Malaysia through your work. That was really amazing and really nice experience and sharing knowledge for all of us. Yeah, that's the things. Thank you so much, Professor Sheena. Hope to see you in person in Malaysia or in Indonesia. We'll try to collaborate in the future. Thank you so much.
I would very much like that.
Thank you so much. And we'll give it back to the MC for the next sessions. Thank you so much and see you.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Mufauzi, for moderating the discussion session. And thank you to our amazing speaker, Professor Dr. Nursina, for giving us knowledge and new insight on controlling strategy of parasitic disease. May what we have learned today will give us much benefits in life.
Inshallah.
Okay, once again, I'd like to remind all the participants to fill the registration and evaluation forms as the requirements to get the certificate. The link will be sent in the room chat and will be presented on your screen. Okay, once again, I'd like to remind the participants to fill the registration and evaluation forms because it will be the requirement to get certificate. The link will be sent in the room chat and will be presented on your screen. Okay, about our event today, maybe some of the participants wants to share about the event. Maybe one of the participants want to raise hand and then unmute and share to us about what's your thought about our event today. Okay, we're jumping to the announcement of the winners of the most active participants of our event today. We have 5 participants. First is Agus Syarfuddin, second is Arista Erwina, third is Jadidan Hada, and fourth Atika, and fifth Professor Zen. Okay, to the winner, please contact Namira as the contact person. The number will be presented on your screen. Okay, last but not least, I would say thank you to Professor Dr. Siti Nursina binti Mozain as our speaker today, Professor Zen and Dr. Martini who have taken time to attend this event, Dr. Mufauzi as our moderator, the committee, and all beloved participants who are attending the event from the beginning until now. And I apologize for the mistakes I made through this event. See you to our next event. Stay safe and stay healthy, everyone. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Okay, I'd like to remind for the last time to the participants to fill the evaluation forms as the requirements to get a certificate. The link will be sent in the room chat and will be presented on your screen. Thank you for your attention. See you guys on our next event. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you, Prof. Sina, for your topic today. Is very great, and I think it's very beneficial to our student.
I think she has left.
Okay, thank you.
Bagian epidemiologi merupakan bagian yang secara institusi menyiapkan peserta didik yang handal di bidang pencegahan dan pengendalian penyakit serta permasalahan kesehatan pada umumnya dengan menggunakan prinsip-prinsip dan metode epidemiologi. Bagian epidemiologi dan penyakit tropik terbagi menjadi dua peminatan. Yang pertama, peminatan epidemiologi dan penyakit tropik, dan yang kedua, peminatan entomologi kesehatan. Kompetensi dari peminatan epidemiologi dan penyakit tropik yaitu mampu menganalisis masalah kesehatan masyarakat dengan pendekatan epidemiologi, mampu mengukur besaran masalah kesehatan dan mencari hubungannya dengan faktor resiko, mampu menyusun dan menyajikan laporan hasil pengamatan, penyelidikan dan penelitian epidemiologi, mampu merancang dan menyelenggarakan surveillance masalah kesehatan untuk meramalkan pola masalah kesehatan dan mampu merancang, memantau, dan menilai pelaksanaan program kesehatan dengan pendekatan kuantitatif. Sedangkan kompetensi untuk peminatan entomologi kesehatan yaitu mampu mengidentifikasi vektor dan reservoir penyakit, mampu melaksanakan berbagai jenis survei entomologi, dan mengidentifikasi berbagai genus dan spesies nyamuk dewasa untuk keperluan atau penggunaan hasil survei untuk pemanfaatan program pengendalian vektor, dan mampu melakukan pengendalian vektor dalam pencegahan penyakit tular vektor. Bagian Epidemiologi dan Penyakit Tropik diketuai oleh Ibu Lintang Dian Saraswati, SKM Magister Epid, dan berikut adalah dosen pengampu di bagian epidemiologi. Nah, apa saja kegiatan praktikum di peminatan epidemiologi dan penyakit tropik dan juga di peminatan entomologi kesehatan? Yuk kita lihat. Pada peminatan epidemiologi dan penyakit tropik, kita akan belajar tentang praktikum kesehatan masyarakat veteriner, praktikum laboratorium epidemiologi, praktikum penyelidikan wabah, dan praktikum pengendalian vektor. Pada peminatan entomologi kesehatan, kita akan belajar tentang praktikum teknik entomologi. Praktikum pestisida dan toksikologi. Dan praktikum rodentologi kesehatan. Lalu, di mana saja peluang kerja untuk lulusan dari bagian epidemiologi dan penyakit tropik? Yuk kita simak. Peluang kerja peminatan epidemiologi dan penyakit tropik yaitu Kementerian Kesehatan, Dinas Kesehatan, Balai Litbang Kesehatan, World Health Organization atau WHO, Kantor Kesehatan Pelabuhan, Puskesmas, Rumah Sakit, UNICEF, LIPI, BPJS, Balai Kesehatan Indera Masyarakat, dan LSM. Peluang kerja untuk peminatan entomologi kesehatan yaitu Kantor Kesehatan Pelabuhan, Balai Litbang Kesehatan, Dinas Kesehatan, Pest Control Corporation, Industri Makanan dan Minuman, Dinas Pariwisata, Laboratorium, LIPI, Rumah Sakit, Perhotelan, dan Dinas Pertanian. Nah, sekarang mari kita simak apa kata alumni dari peminatan epidemiologi dan penyakit tropik dan juga dari peminatan entomologi kesehatan.
Perkenalkan, saya Yanita. Saat ini saya bekerja sebagai peneliti di Pusat Penelitian Kependudukan Lembaga Ilmu Pengetahuan Indonesia. Saya merupakan alumni dari peminatan epidemiologi dan penyakit tropik pada tahun 2016. Saya sangat terkesan selama berada di peminatan epid karena dari sana saya belajar banyak hal di luar dari pelajaran atau mata kuliah saat di dalam kelas. Peminatan epid mengajarkan saya untuk lebih mampu beradaptasi saat berada di lapangan, mampu berkomunikasi dengan baik dengan orang-orang sekitar, dan meningkatkan kepekaan saya terhadap lingkungan sekitar. Hal-hal tersebut akan sangat bermanfaat bagi kita ketika memasuki dunia kerja, apalagi kita sebagai alumni dari jurusan kesehatan masyarakat. Peminatan epid seru kok.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Halo semuanya. Perkenalkan, nama saya Anzala Harunisa. Saya dulu dari FKM Undip angkatan 2015 dan saya masuk ke epidemiologi di angkatan 2018. Kemudian saya lulus dari FKM Undip tahun 2019 dan alhamdulillah sekarang saya bekerja sebagai CPNS di Direktorat Pencegahan dan Pengendalian Penyakit Tular Vektor dan Zoonotik Kementerian Kesehatan Republik Indonesia sebagai epidemiolog kesehatan ahli pertama. Nah, di sini saya akan menceritakan kenapa dulu saya mengambil epidemiologi sebagai peminatan saya. Nah, selama 4 semester awal saya menjalani perkuliahan di FKM Undip, saya sudah screening mengenai peminatan mana yang saya minati, yang saya punya passion di dalamnya. Kemudian saya menemukan kecenderungan untuk memilih epidemiologi sebagai minat saya. Dan saya masuk ke epidemiologi, kemudian saya semakin yakin kalau memang ini sebagai passion saya. Kenapa? Karena di epidemiologi ini kita tuh belajar bagaimana kita menganalisis mengenai faktor risiko penyakit, bagaimana kita mengetahui distribusi penyakit, frekuensi penyakit dari berbagai macam jenis penyakit yang ada gitu. Dan sampai sekarang pun saya di Kementerian Kesehatan tetap belajar mengenai epidemiologi. Jadi ilmu-ilmu yang saya dapatkan dari dosen saat masih mahasiswa sampai sekarang pun masih sangat bermanfaat bagi saya. Karena di sini saat membuat kebijakan tentunya kita harus berpegang juga dengan epidemiologi penyakitnya itu, khususnya arbovirosis, karena di sini saya ada di substansi arbovirosis. Jadi saya harus mengetahui bagaimana epidemiologi penyakit arbovirosis itu yang ada di Indonesia gitu. Dan sejatinya sebagai seorang SKM kita harus mendalami epidemiologi gitu, karena sejatinya epidemiologi adalah the mother of public health. Jadi kita harus semangat untuk belajar tentang epidemiologi dan jangan pernah takut untuk mencoba men-challenge diri kita sendiri untuk belajar tentang epidemiologi. Oke, sekian dari saya. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Dadah, semangat.
Hai, saya Dias Nora. Saya epid angkatan 2018. Saat ini saya sedang melanjutkan S2 di Belanda, tepatnya di University of Medical Science Groningen. Saya mengambil jurusan Clinical and Psychosocial Epidemiology saat ini, yang tentunya masih sangat berkaitan dengan COVID. Alasan saya memilih epid untuk bachelor, master, atau mungkin nantinya PhD dan seterusnya karena simply saya suka dengan epid. Bagi saya epid sangat menarik, sangat luas dan dapat diaplikasikan di berbagai bidang. The more I learn about epid, the more I surprise. Pesan saya saat saya mengikuti epid S1 di Undip, saya merasakan bahwa epid di sana mengajarkan kita untuk bekerja keras, focus on honestly it gave us a lot of assignment. Karena itu pula saya jadi terbiasa untuk bekerja keras, saya terbiasa dengan tekanan, dan itu saya rasakan sangat bermanfaat saat saya S2 saat ini. Dan lastly pesan saya untuk siapapun yang berpikiran untuk mengikuti program epidemiologi ini, just do what you like, no matter what people say about that, just do what you like and be excellent at that. That's it. Thank you, bye-bye.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Perkenalkan, nama saya Sofi Anissa. Saya adalah alumni peminatan entomologi FKM Undip tahun 2016. Saat ini saya bekerja sebagai entomolog kesehatan ahli pertama di Rumah Sakit Umum Daerah Deli Serdang, Sumatera Utara. Kesan saya selama kuliah di peminatan entomologi FKM Undip yaitu seru karena lebih banyak prakteknya dibandingkan teori, dan pengalaman saya saat mencari kerja juga tidak sulit karena saat saya mencalonkan diri sebagai pegawai negeri sipil banyak sekali formasi yang kosong karena kita masih butuh orang yang sangat banyak. Jadi buat adik-adik jangan ragu untuk memilih peminatan entomologi di FKM Undip. Terima kasih.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Apa kabar adik-adik semua? Perkenalkan, saya Dirga Maulidan, alumni FKM Undip angkatan 2013 dan peminatan entomologi kesehatan angkatan 2016. Ada sebuah mutiara yang di Indonesia ini mulai dilirik. Mutiara tersebut adalah ilmu tentang entomologi kesehatan. Sebuah ilmu yang mempelajari tentang vektor dan lingkungannya. Di peminatan ini akan menaikkan sense of biological kita. Jadi bagaimana keterkaitan antara vektor, penyakit, dan lingkungannya. Sebagai contoh, ada kapal di belakang saya. Ini berpotensi dalam penyebaran penyakit disebabkan oleh vektor lalat, kecoa, dan tikus. Merupakan tugas seorang entomolog untuk mengasesmen adanya faktor risiko tersebut dan layak atau tidaknya kapal untuk berangkat ke daerah tujuan. Di bidang entomologi kesehatan, di peminatan entomologi kesehatan, kita akan menghabiskan banyak waktu di lapangan dibandingkan di kelas. Kita akan belajar dari lingkungan dan laboratorium. Akan ada banyak keseruan-keseruan di dalamnya, akan ada banyak pengetahuan-pengetahuan baru yang akan kita dapatkan di peminatan entomologi kesehatan. Bagaimana? Berminat? Selamat berkuliah di FKM Undip, selamat menikmati proses. Kami tunggu kontribusi Anda di dunia kerja. Indonesia butuh Anda, daerah asal kalian juga butuh Anda. Sekian, wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Hai adik-adik FKM, perkenalkan saya Condro Sukma Panajaya, alumni Ento Angkatan 2019. Saat ini saya sebagai field biologist di salah satu perusahaan pest control di kota Makassar. Selama berkuliah, saya dibekali kemampuan sebagai seorang entomolog, mulai dari kemampuan identifikasi, analisis, dan juga pembuatan solusi dari permasalahan vector-borne disease. Menjadi seorang entomolog harus memiliki kemampuan analisis yang tajam. Oleh sebab itu, kami bukan hanya belajar di dalam kelas, tapi juga melakukan praktikum di dalam laboratorium dan juga terjun langsung di lapangan untuk melakukan survei entomologi. Menjadi seorang entomolog sangatlah menyenangkan. So, are you ready to be the next entomologist?
In 1985, for the first time, we accepted new students from diploma to bachelor degree under the name of the Public Health Study Program, Faculty of Medicine, Universitas Diponegoro. In 1987, the Public Health Study Program began admitting students for the regular program for the first time. In 1993, the Public Health Study Program changed to the Faculty of Public Health based on the decree of the Minister of Education and Culture of the Republic of Indonesia, number 0369/0/1993, dated 21st November 1993. Faculty of Public Health Vision. In the year of 2024, Faculty of Public Health becomes an excellent higher education institution in the field of public health in the international level. Faculty of Public Health are concerned in achieving the following objectives: to obtain graduates who have the spirit of Pancasila, competent, have social awareness, and have the Undip's graduate profile that are complete and miracle. Complete: communicator, professional, leader, entrepreneur, thinker, educator, and miracle: manager, innovator, researcher, apprentice, communitarian, leader, and educator. To obtain innovative research and beneficial products to solve public health problems and to achieve world-class university. To obtain publications in reputable national and international journals, attainments in intellectual property rights that beneficial to the development of public health to support world-class university. To contribute in the public health problems solving in regional, national, and international level. To organize transparent and accountable public health higher education in accordance with applicable regulation supported by technology advances. To organize cooperation and partnership in education, research, publication, product innovation, and community services in public health aspects with public and private institutions in national and international level. The organizational structure in Faculty of Public Health: faculty leaders, the Dean, the Vice Dean for Academic and Student Affairs, the Vice Dean for Resources. The study programs in Faculty of Public Health are Bachelor in Public Health, accredited as Excellent, Master in Public Health, accredited as Excellent, Master in Environmental Health, accredited as Excellent, Master in Health Promotion, accredited as Excellent, Doctor in Public Health, accredited as Excellent. The implementation of the education program in the Faculty of Public Health is supported by lecturers from reputable universities. Currently, the faculty has 34 lecturers with doctoral degrees of 66 lecturers with various scientific fields. They are Health Policy and Administration, Public Health Nutrition, Epidemiology and Tropical Diseases, Occupational Safety and Health, Environmental Health, Biostatistic and Population, and Health Promotion and Behavioral Sciences. In the learning process, the Faculty of Public Health is supported by education staff from various backgrounds, competencies, and professionalism. The buildings in Faculty of Public Health are Building A, the Dean Building with 2 stories, Building B, classrooms with 3 stories, Building C, lecturers' room with 2 stories and meeting rooms, Building D, secretariat room of graduate study programs, classrooms for graduate programs, computer laboratory, Public Health Laboratory, Unit Room of Faculty Supports, and Hall. Building E, Students Activities Room. Building F, Student Activity Center, Praying Room, and Canteen. Building G, Secretariat Room of Undergraduate Study Programs, Library, Archive Rooms, and Student Activities Rooms, and also other facilities such as canteen, futsal field, basketball field, volleyball field, and other sport facilities. To support student learning process, the Faculty of Public Health has 6 laboratories: Basic Biomedicine Laboratory, Environmental Health Laboratory, Occupational Safety and Health Laboratory, Epidemiology and Entomology Laboratory, Public Health Nutrition Laboratory, and Audio-Visual Aids Laboratory. The Faculty of Public Health has accepted international students since 2016 for degree and non-degree programs in order to support Universitas Diponegoro to be the world-class university. The non-degree programs such as summer course program, internship program, joint research, and community services are followed by students from many countries such as Taiwan, Netherlands, Australia, Germany, China, Pakistan, Sudan, Libya, USA, Malaysia, Vietnam, Cambodia, Nigeria, and many more. Other international programs to support world-class university are visiting professors from overseas universities, International Conference on Public Health for Tropical and Coastal Development, staff exchange, lecture joint research between universities and with international NGOs. Student activities, internship, partnership with villages related to maternal health, field study practices, outbound, community services, student units activities, Research Center of Faculty of Public Health, Research Center of Environment and Toxic Material, Research Center of Neglected Tropical Diseases, Research Center of Reproductive Health and HIV/AIDS, Research Center of Public Health Nutrition, Research Center of Health Policy.
Mama told me that nowadays everything is in our hands. Food, money, and even health facilities. But why are there still many children who can't get their needs in their hands? Mama also told me that we can always know today's weather just phone or smartphone. But why everything is getting more uncertain? Are all these advanced technologies useless? Mama told me that I have to use water wisely because there are still many people out there who are struggle to get it. I want to help them. I hope I can change everything if I study hard now. But will it really be different in the future?
Universitas Diponegoro is one of the leading universities committed to developing a green and sustainable campus in Indonesia. In a broader vision, we also committed to being part of the world to accelerate in achieving the Sustainable Development Goals in 2030. And here is a small example of what we do.
We established the SDG Center that serves as a focal point to redefine, sharpen, and continuously increase the university's effort and commitment to environmental sustainability and development. We built our campus infrastructure with green and sustainable concepts, with smart buildings and renewable energy investment, along with green open space here and there, as well as promoting a sustainable way of living. We have included the SDGs knowledge in the relevant courses in every study program. We also encourage all the units to extend the relevancy of the SDGs not only for the formal education or teaching, but also in the other academic activities.
We invested almost 82 billion Indonesian rupiah
for research, including research on COVID-19, health technology, sustainable farming, renewable energy, to gender equity and culture preservation.
We invested more than 19 billion Indonesian rupiah
to support more than 200 programs conducted by students and faculty staff on community development all over Indonesia. In 2021, we joined the SDSN Network, which is a global network to promote practical solutions for sustainable development. We also joined hands with many state and non-state actors for escalating the impact and the outcome of the sustainable development programs. We continuously promote the sustainable concept in various platforms. We want to create future generations that think and act in sustainable concept for better future for all.
And there is no one left behind.
Join us here at Universitas Diponegoro to create a better for all right now and in the future. Act responsibly, think sustainably.
itu. Ya di Simkes Undip juga begitu karena mereka bukan ahli komputer ya, tapi mereka mendesain sesuai dengan permasalahan yang mereka temukan. Tetapi yang mengerjakan itu boleh orang lain aplikasinya ya. Cuma ya tadi sebetulnya ada beberapa yang menarik ya. Ada sih salah satu itu apa ya sistem informasi posyandu di Jawa Timur itu kelihatannya diterapkan, tapi ya nggak tahu karena pemerintah sendiri kan dari tahun ke tahun itu juga ada aplikasi-aplikasi yang di apa diberikan pada di kakak ke bawah itu kan seperti itu. Jadi akhirnya mungkin karena tidak didukung oleh Kemenkes akhirnya tidak dipakai gitu.
Iya. Jadi ini saya barusan share peta jalannya Kemenkes yang DTO tadi,
Iya.
Digital Transformation Strategi tadi, karena sudah ada 400-an aplikasi yang terkait dengan kesehatan. Dan itu tidak mempermudah tapi malah menjadi beban bagi petugas kesehatan. Makanya sekarang transformasinya itu menata juga untuk berbagai aplikasi tadi. Jadi memang nanti barangkali tidak sebanyak itu, tapi memang yang esensial dan tapi tetap membuka ruang untuk inovasi masing-masing daerah ya, sehingga kalau mereka sudah mengembangkan dan berjalan itu barangkali memang layak untuk diteruskan ya.
Jadi petugasnya malah pusing ya karena saking banyaknya ini. Saya kira waktunya sudah sesuai dengan jadwal ini minta maaf ini karena kita harus sesuai dengan schedule ya Bu karena terkait dengan administrasi. Jadi kami mengucapkan terima kasih kepada Dr. Lutfan yang telah banyak memberikan wawasan dan kita juga bisa berdiskusi. Semoga tahapan ini merupakan permulaan tahapan yang nanti bisa menjalin kerjasama lagi. Siapa tahu nanti akan ketemu dengan Dr. Lutfan lagi. Jadi sekali lagi terima kasih. Saya akhiri. Selamat siang dan wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Terima kasih banyak.
Matur nuwun sangat Dr. Lutfan.
Terima kasih.
Selamat
terima kasih.
Stay di Taiwan. Salam sehat selalu.
Terima kasih.
Di karantina.
Terima kasih Dr. Lutfan.
Matur nuwun.
Terima kasih. Monggo kalau mau meninggalkan ruangan.
Mohon izin pamit dulu. Terima kasih.
Monggo.
Untuk mahasiswa juga terima kasih semuanya. Semoga ilmunya bermanfaat.
Oh iya, ini masih ada yang hadir ya.
Sebentar berarti. Screenshot dulu. Saya tak screenshot dulu.
Saya sudah screenshot sebentar Ibu.
Sudah Mas Dion?
Sudah.
Oh, sudah di screenshot ya, matur nuwun.
Terima kasih banyak ya Bapak Ibu.
Ya, sama-sama. Terima kasih. Ya.
Terima kasih Pak Bu.
Ya, terima kasih. Sudah, Pak Dio? Sudah ya, saya live ini. Terima kasih semuanya yang masih hadir.
Ini di meeting. Yang bukan sholat ya?
Bukan, saya live tuh.
Ya, live. Kita yang hostnya.